The IPL is looked at as a young man's game. It's also looked at a platform wherein young talent gets to express itself and then you pick players for the Indian team. But at times, it is also a platform where some players end up finding their lost touch. It ends up being a platform where some of the established players end up rediscovering themselves. And what's happened in this season, and just inside 7 games of this very season of the IPL, we've got one such player who's truly rediscovered himself. And over the next couple of minutes, we'll be talking about that particular player who's donning the yellow of the Chennai Super Kings, and that's Ajinkya Rahane. Now, Ajinkya Rahane wasn't the first choice for CSK. Yes, he was in the plans, but they didn't really intend to start the season with him, and that's exactly what happened. In the first couple of games, CSK didn't start with Ajinkya Rahane. It was only later on that we saw him feature, and it was in that game against Mumbai that Ajinkya Rahane featured, and wow, what an impression he's left on us in those 5 innings that he's played so far. Just 5 innings, and we're already going gaga over what Ajinkya Rahane has done so far. Let's have a quick look at his numbers very closely. Now, that strike rate of 199, I'm sure you're getting your eyeballs are stuck over there. But I'll tell you a little more about that strike rate. But look at that, just 5 innings for him so far. And in those 5 innings, he's already scored more runs than he'd scored in the previous edition of the tournament. In last year's tournament, he didn't even manage 150 runs, and look what's happened in almost half the time. Just 5 innings for him, and he scored more than 200 runs, and he's striking at 199. Now, let me give you more perspective as far as his numbers are concerned. 199 strike rate, well, for all those batters out there in this edition of the IPL, and there you've got the likes of Glenn Maxwell, you've also got the likes of a Faf du Plessis, you've also got the likes of a Hetmeyer, a Pooran, the Kohlis, the Rohits are there. But he's put all of those names behind, and Ajinkya Rahane, for all those batters out there who scored a minimum of 100 runs, has the highest strike rate. 199 is the highest for anyone who scored at least 100 runs so far. Glenn Maxwell is there, but with a strike rate of 188. Now that should give you perspective as to how well Ajinkya Rahane is batting at the moment, and which is why he's an absolute treat to watch in this season. A 34-year-old doing well in the yellow jersey of CSK. That's happened many a times before. You could go ahead and call it a coincidence that Ajinkya Rahane is playing ever so well at the Chennai Super Kings, or the other way to look at this could be the fact that he prepared very well for it. And that's exactly what Ajinkya Rahane said in that post-match interview that he had after that knock against Mumbai. Remember, he dazzled in that particular match. What exactly did he say? Well, he said that both Stephen Fleming and Mahendra Singh Dhoni had told him to prepare well, and that's exactly what he did. His preparation, speaking of which, we'll be talking about how good a domestic season he had, what are his Ranji numbers like. We'll be talking about that as well. But since we talked about Dhoni over there, let's also tell you what Dhoni said. Now, Dhoni is somebody who knows how to judge players very well, and there is, enough proof over the years that we've seen. But Ajinkya Rahane, well, in him too, Mahendra Singh Dhoni had that belief, had that faith, went for him at the auction. And what did he have to say? Well, he said that him and Ajinkya Rahane had conversations about what his role is going to be at the Chennai Super Kings. And what he told him was also that to go exploit those field settings. Why? Because he knows that Ajinkya Rahane is very good at finding the gaps. So that's exactly what he told Ajinkya Rahane. To not try to do something which he doesn't do that often, to not muscle the ball, just be the man that he is, be the player that he is, go maneuver the ball, go find those gaps, and that's that was his suggestion to Ajinkya Rahane, regardless of what the results be like. He said, you have our backing. And that's perhaps exactly what Ajinkya Rahane would have needed, especially after the tough year that he had, to hear from his captain that he's got his backing from him and that he doesn't have to worry about anything. All he needs to go out there is play the cricket that he knows. So Rahane says that he was asked to prepare well. But would the preparation have been limited just to those pre-season or those pre-season camps that franchises organize? Well, no. As much of a diligent worker that Ajinkya Rahane is, we all know it's an accepted fact that he puts in those hard yards, he goes that extra mile as well. And perhaps the preparation had started long before the IPL, in fact, and it had to do with a different format altogether. So let's now focus on what exactly was Ajinkya Rahane doing a couple of months prior to the IPL. He was playing for the Mumbai at the Ranji Trophy. And what kind of a season did he have? Well, he had a stellar season to say the least. 600 plus runs scored by Ajinkya Rahane, which included 200s, by the way, also in that season. So that's the kind of season that he had, so much so that he was in fact the highest run getter for Mumbai in this season of the Ranji Trophy. And it was perhaps this tremendous run that he was having for Mumbai that CSK, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the team management, they thought that at the auction, Ajinkya could be the guy, they could place their money on, could place their bet on, and boy oh boy, has he not repaid all that faith that CSK showed in him. So domestic form working out well for Ajinkya Rahane as far as the IPL is concerned. But this was, as far as Ajinkya Rahane is concerned, a tough summer as well to have. Why? Because after that 2022 tour of Sri Lanka, he hasn't played, or of South Africa, I must say. He hasn't played any test match cricket. He didn't have a good tour in South Africa, and things didn't really go well. So much so to the extent that he was left out of the team. So for 1 year, Ajinkya Rahane hasn't been in the Indian team as far as test cricket is concerned. But a good domestic season, look what it's done for him. He's been brought back into the side for the all-important World Test Championship final. But Ajinkya Rahane had other plans as well, and those plans, by the way, will have now taken a hit. Why, you will ask? And the answer to that is because he had plans of spending his time in the UK playing for Leicestershire in the county this year. Not just the 8 matches that he'd committed, he'd also said that he'd be playing the limited overs format as well. So he promised that he'll complete those 8 games and he'll be taking part in the 50 over format as well over there in England. But that's not going to happen now. It might just, we'll have to wait and watch if Ajinkya Rahane goes and pursues those plans as well. But because he's now been drafted into the Indian team for the World Test Championship final, well, that will have to now be pushed. He could still go ahead and choose to play for Leicestershire, but for a certain time, he will definitely be missing out on certain number of games because he's now back into the Indian setup. Funny how things change in the world of cricket, right? He was discarded last year. Look what a stellar domestic season and a very, very good start to the IPL has done for Ajinkya Rahane. So that was about Ajinkya Rahane and his journey over the last 1 year. In many ways, he's been put back on the map. But those of you out there, some of you, I'm guessing, could argue that why are we mixing formats here? Why are we going by what he's done in the T20 format, that too in the IPL, and now we're getting him for the World Test Championship final? Very fair for all of those thinking on those lines. But what exactly is your thought like? Let us know in the comment section. Could we have looked at other alternatives and maybe Ajinkya Rahane wasn't the best bet? Or have India done the right thing by bringing in Ajinkya Rahane? I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comment section.